Welcome to 2016 Presidential Candidate Interviews. Today I'm interviewing Steve Jacobson. Steve is running as an independent. Hello, Steve, and welcome to 2016 Presidential Candidate Interviews. Thank
Good
you
morning to
for
you.
thank you. Thank you for taking the time to participate. Let's start with some easy icebreaker questions and then get into the serious issues. One thing I would like you to do on the longer open-ended questions, when you're completely finished giving your answer, can you just say next question or I'm done? That way I don't interrupt you as you're speaking and I can just let you speak. Okay,
You got it.
thank you. The first question, describe your family and your home life.
I've got a fabulous family. I've had three wives. I've got a current third wife that she and I are happily married. I have two adopted children, three grandchildren. I spend a huge amount of time with my granddaughters, and I'm a very lucky person because they're all just lovely people. I'm finished.
Okay. Describe your employment, your work experience.
Well, since I'm 79 years old, I've had 60 years of work experience. I would say almost all of it has been in sales. I've done extraordinary different things. I retired when I was 41, sold out a company. I ran the LA Ballet for a year, even though I didn't particularly care for ballet, but I was a business manager. I've spent 8 years making violins. I was a Hollywood producer or agent, rather, for 8 years. I'm currently a mortgage broker. I took the mortgage broker license, NMLS license, when I was 75 because people said I was too old to even pass it. So it's been a terrific life. I've done a lot of traveling. I've been involved in politics, and I'm just having a great time. That's it. That's the end of
All
that
right.
one.
What are your hobbies and interests?
Hobbies and interests, I would say now that I'm a little older, mostly reading, which I've done all my life, but I've done a lot of, as I said, violin making. I've also done a lot of wood sculpting and mosaic making. So it's been a lot of interesting stuff for creativity. Finished with that one.
Your favorite foods to eat?
Favorite foods to eat would probably be several types of Mexican foods, Oaxacan, and stuff from Cancun.
Do you have
Finished.
any favorite comedians?
Favorite comedian certainly would be Monty Python, Robin Williams. That basically are the top of the line, and Jonathan Winters.
Okay. Your favorite books to read?
Favorite books? Well, my Bible is Catch-22. I also like Special Topics in Calamity Physics by Mircea Pessel. I like the Alexandria Quartet. I like the Deptford Trilogy, Moby Dick, obviously various other books, but those are my favorites.
Do you have any favorite TV shows or movies?
Favorite TV shows would probably be, well, my favorite movie these days is The Usual Suspects. I have one license plate that reads Kaiser Sose on one car and the other that reads Verbal Kint on another car, so I'm deeply into that wonderful movie. And for TV shows, probably West Wing and I would say Pickers is one of my favorite ones. So there it is. That's enough for that.
How about pets or little critters? Do you have any of
Oh, I've
those?
got a dog named Dory. She's a Staffordshire Terrier and the love of our life. That's the end of that.
And the final icebreaker question. Do you have a song that you consider your life motto or your anthem, a song that kind of describes who you are?
I would like to think James Taylor's Steamroller would do it.
All right. Now on to the serious questions. Why are you running for president?
Running for president because I've come up with an idea that I think is worthwhile discussing. It's basically, and I'll go into it a little further, but it's basically nobody else has done much for increasing the size of the United States in the last 100 years. Before that, we had annexed Texas, we'd annexed Hawaii, and we'd annexed Puerto Rico. And currently, Russia has annexed the Crimea just a few weeks ago. So annexation is in the air. And my thought process was, let's double the size of the United States by annexing Canada and Mexico. And there are some various things I'll go into at the end, but this seemed like a great idea, and I wanted to push it. So there are some benefits for it that I'll go in at the end when we discuss that. finished with this.
Name some unique abilities you would bring to the office of president. What about your makeup would be an asset to being president?
One of the things is I am 79. I've lived through a whole bunch of presidents and various promises and various wars and various other things. I do know this, that everybody who should be running for president knows who runs the country, and it's the armed forces. As you remember, everybody in my lifetime, every one of the presidents has fought a war someplace, with the exception of Eisenhower, who was one of the greatest presidents of all. But what I'm planning to do is to say, okay, given the fact that the Army does run the country, because they need to get their men in arms up to snuff, and they need to get new equipment and test it out, so they go to war. In this particular case, if we annex Mexico, we can just go to war with the drug cartels, and we don't have to leave all of our equipment over in Afghanistan like we're doing, where, in fact, we're leaving $2 billion worth of equipment there because it costs $3 billion to ship it home. What a waste. Okay, enough of that one.
All right. Name a president or two or three or how many ever many you want to that you would emulate and why. Are there any certain presidents who did certain things, had certain policies that you would like to emulate?
Yes, probably the first one would be Eisenhower. Nobody talks about him, but I grew up in the Eisenhower years, and it was the calmest years this country has had in the last century. And he was an outstanding general. I heard him speak when he was a general, and he used four-syllable words and was just erudite as hell. When he was president, it sounded like he mumbled and didn't have any idea what he was doing. But the basic thing is, he didn't cause any troubles. So I thought that was a wonderful presidential attribute. Okay, go on.
Name a president or two that you would not want to be like. Can you think of any
Well,
demons, any nefarious little characters?
I don't know the presidents before I was born, but certainly I wouldn't like to be like Richard Nixon. In fact, when I was very, very young, my mother and I were walking the precincts when he was going against Helen Gahagan Douglas, and at that time he was calling her a communist, and he won by a landslide because he lied about that kind of thing. And he never stopped lying through his entire political career. So that was one person I would not like to be. End of that one.
Are there any functions of government you would like to cut or abolish, and why?
I will tell you the things that need to be cut and abolished, and that would be absolutely the fact that things are run very badly. I would put business people in charge of almost everything. The Veterans Administration debacle is probably the biggest thing. How can we be running this thing with everybody lying who's running it? I mean, it's just outrageous. Now, any president can't have their fingers in all the pots. That's not a possibility. But they do need to appoint people who are overseers who will see that this kind of stuff does not happen. That's it for that one.
Are there any areas of government you would like to add to or increase, and why?
At this point, no. I think there's been plenty of laws, plenty of stuff that's been done in the past. We just have to hone it down so that it's efficient. That's it for that one.
Describe your stance on taxes.
10% tax, period. Cuts off any other thing that we have to discuss. That's what would make this country whole again, and it might put some tax people out of work, but that would be the way to go. Just a flat tax for everybody, no overseas bank accounts, no nothing. And
would
that would
you
out of debt.
would you implement that through a flat income tax or through a consumption tax, or
Flat income tax. I mean, states and local governments would still have their own taxes, obviously. But for the federal government, a flat 10% tax, that does it. Okay, thanks for that one.
describe your stance on the abortion pro-choice issue?
Well, I'm for abortion and pro-choice, but I'm also for more education for people so that they don't have children when they don't want them. That's one of the biggest things that's happening. My gut feeling is people have plenty of children and can't support them, which is one of the reasons for abortion. The other reason is people just are not thinking when they're screwing. So I would prefer that they do some thinking beforehand. There's plenty of contraceptive stuff out there. Into that one.
What role should our military play in the world? And I think this might dovetail into what you said about annexation.
Yes, we have to have the strongest military in the world, mainly because we're seeing right now what's going to be the start of a new holy war in the Mideast. And there are at least, what, a billion Muslims? I would say 99% of them think that we're in the wrong. So we're going to have to be very self sufficient and have the finest military without any question. End of that one.
Okay. Is it okay if I ask a little more on the annexation thing?
Sure, sure.
How would you use our military to achieve that?
Well, we don't have to use, remember, with annexation,
Hmm.
annexation is not invasion. Annexation means you take an eraser and you get out a map and you erase the lines between the countries. That's what annexation is. We've just seen it in the Crimea. And the way that works is I'm annexing Canada and I'm annexing Mexico. I've talked to my friends in Canada. They say, you're here already. There's a Starbucks across the street and a Walmart down the corner. We won't know the difference. In the annexed Mexico, between Canada and Mexico, they only have 500,000 men under arms. We have 3 million. They may be upset that we're annexing them, but they're not going to do anything about it. And that's just the way it is. I mean, we're the bully on the block. We might as well use it.
All right.
So, is that enough?
That's good. How
Good.
would you handle immigration and border security?
Well, the beautiful thing about my situation, I know that you're a Tea Party person, but I have no animosity toward Tea Party people. But I am saying that the immigration situation is going to go on for the next 50 years under the current situation, unless something drastic is done about it. If I annex Mexico, there are no illegal immigrants. They're all from the state of Mexico. And we have a border that's down in Belize instead of a border that stretches across the bottom of the current United States. So the border in Belize would be very easy to defend. It's what, a tenth of the area that there is right now. That's the end of that one.
How do you perceive the issues of race and discrimination in America? Do we still face challenges?
I think so. And again, but you're being a Tea Party person, I can discuss this with you. My gut feeling, and it's because I've talked to plenty of people who say that they're Tea Party persons. I think that once there's no longer a black man in the White House, the Tea Party will have less to be aggravated about. I think a great many of them are just anti-black and are just incensed about it. And it's just the way it is. That's my opinion.
All
Enough
right.
of that.
What role does the federal government play in healthcare, if any?
Well, up until the Obama healthcare situation, we were the only Class A country without universal health care. Every other country in the world that had our kind of an economy had universal health care. It's not like we've stepped out of line. It's we've stepped in line. It does the country no good to have a whole bunch of ill people. That does not benefit the country. Plus, when they don't have any medical care, they use up the emergency room services, which they're no longer having to do. So I'm all for it. Another question?
Are you for single payer?
A single parent?
Excuse me, like a single payer system?
Single payer? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I don't really have an opinion on any of that. I haven't gone into it too much. I've just
Okay.
said that I do like national health care, so
Okay.
that's what that
That's
is.
good. Where are we at here? What priority would you give for repairing of infrastructure? What is the role of the federal government in maintaining infrastructure?
Well, remember, Eisenhower started the system of cross-country highways and stuff like that, which is one of the best things that he did. We have an unemployment situation where people could be earning money, and they don't have to have a huge amount of education to put roads together and things. And I think the federal government should add some kind of a tax to the gasoline because cars use the roads and trucks, obviously, and use it to employ people and make the system under repair. It's falling apart. We all know that. And the federal government, because it's got the power to do so, should just step in and take care of business. Another question?
Where do you stand on personal privacy and the need to protect our nation from terrorists?
Well,
What's the sweet spot between the government keeping an eye on things to protect us, but the government not overreaching and invading personal privacy?
This is one of the worst situations about electronics. Remember, I'm 79, so do I think that electronics are good? No. I'd like to go back to smoke signals and drum beats. But with this electronic situation, especially just the news from every day, there is no privacy left. There is none. It just doesn't happen. There was a thing on 60 Minutes, I think, a couple of nights ago, that said that every time we use Google, 25 or 30 people are listening in on everything that we do. So do we have privacy? No. Will we ever have privacy again? Not unless somebody outlaws electronics. Now, if I'm president and with my tongue in my cheek, I might just do that. But in the meanwhile, we have, because of the world situation, a necessity to protect the country. And that's going to be invasion of privacy. It just is. And that's the way it is. It's no longer we're living out in the countryside and everybody can shoot their own rabbits for dinner. It's a world community. We're part of it, and we're part of being on the short end of people who don't like us. So, yes, we have to do some of the snooping. Go on, next question.
Okay, this is not a litmus test type question. Any answer is fine, but faith and religion and all that is important to a lot of voters. So, what role does faith, religion, spirituality, etc., play in your life? And what type of role would it play for you as a president?
I am an atheist, so I'd be the first atheist running for president who's just, I don't say avowed because an atheist can't really be avowed. I just don't believe somebody else is running the situation, because if they are, they're doing a hell of a bad job. And so if you've read Catch-22, you'll know my philosophy. And again, that's my Bible.
All right.
But I am saying I'm delighted that other people have religion, because as one of the guys on the radio said, wouldn't you rather be accosted by a group of men coming home from choir practice than a group of men coming home from a gangbang fest? And so my attitude is, let everybody have their religion, and hopefully they'll get along, but of course it causes great problems in the world, and I'm just delighted they have religion, and it's okay that I don't. Next question.
Be a political forecaster. Predict two major problems facing our country in the future that no one else is talking about. What would you do to prepare America for it?
I don't think that I can predict something that no one is talking about, because I really can't foresee in the future, but I do know two big things that are going to be massive. And one of them is going to be overpopulation. Right now we have, 7 billion people?
Correct.
And the other is just climate change. Out here in California, we're basically a desert, and we are reverting to a desert very quickly, and nobody here really understands how quickly that's going to happen. I'm thinking we're 2 years away from Las Vegas being completely shut down, because they're looking for water from the Lake Mead, and they're now trying to take it from the very bottom of the lake because it's lost so much water. If they have no water, Las Vegas doesn't even exist. It becomes a ghost town. So that's the two things that are happening. And I think the other problem with the population explosion is I'm not so sure life is as precious as it used to be, when everybody depended on everybody else and everybody had something to do. Now that we have the overpopulation problem, we are going to have permanent underemployment or no employment, just because there's machines that can do it faster and easier and cheaper, and we just don't need all the people. Now, I don't have a solution for that. So it's something that we're going to have to think about. Maybe, have you ever seen the movie Soylent Green? Where they take people who are over 73 or something like that, and they just put them to sleep and use their bodies for soap. Unfortunately, that or something like it going to be necessary, just because we can't keep, and I'm going to be one of them. All of my relatives have died of Alzheimer's, so I'm anticipating within 10 years I'll be getting it. And I would think that once I don't know who I am, I should just be put to sleep. Really, there's no reason to warehouse me. No reason that my parents were warehoused for 2 years. No reason for that. And so we're going to have to rethink how long we keep people alive, how much of the resources that we have do people who are non-productive get to use, when we have so many millions and millions of non-productive people. I mean, if you have 2 or 3, yeah, you can say we'll make an exception. So most of my thought processes probably will not be accepted by most people. These are opinions. They're not answers. The only answer I'm going to be giving, it really is my platform of annexing Mexico, and Canada. The rest of those things I'm talking about are my opinions. Next question.
What are your weaknesses? What would you do to make up for your weaknesses? Are there
I have plenty
places
of
that you're
weaknesses.
not talented
Plenty,
in, maybe?
plenty of weaknesses. The biggest one is I'm not that detail oriented that I want to spend a lot of time on the details. So the way I would, what I would do is what I'm sure most presidents do. They surround themselves with people at least as smart, if not smarter than they are. And they take care of the details and take care of the stuff. You, as a president, you just have to have a broad outlook and take things day to day because situations change overnight. So you just got to be sort of experienced in life and then take a look at things and step back and be able to handle them. And you can't be doing detail work when you're doing that. Next question.
Are there any other issues you would like to discuss? Anything we haven't covered? Anything you'd like to go into more detail on?
Not really, except what I think the benefits of my platform are going to be, which I'm thinking we're going to be discussing at the end of the program, correct?
Now is the end, so feel free to
Okay,
expound
here's
further.
what's going to happen. Here's the benefits of my program of annexing Mexico and Canada. As I said before, we've already annexed Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and Texas. So we've done it already. Crimea has been annexed by Russia in the last few weeks. So it's not something that hasn't been done. Annexation is not war. We just erased the lines, and we have the state of Canada with counties of places like Quebec and various other things. We have the state of Mexico with counties like various areas. The benefits are this. One, we solved the immigration problem overnight with no more going back and forth for the next 40 years. Second, people who like to go down to Baja California, and we in California like to do that, have to now wait 4 hours to get into San Diego through the toll gates. Now the border is down in Belize, so everybody can go down to Baja without worrying about it. Third, we're going to get the oil from both countries, so we won't have to be worrying about Mideast oil and getting involved in Mideast politics any longer. Fourth, we do know that the Army does need to practice with their men and with their manpower, and we can send them down into Mexico to fight the drug cartels, and they'll be just having to walk across the state border now and take care of business, so they'll be excited about doing that. And it's just going to be a wonderful thing. We'll now be we will have North America as one continent, one country, and that's my platform and that's my slogan. And I'd like everybody to discuss it because I think it's an interesting discussion. That's the end of that. Take care.
Okay,
Okay.
one more thing. Do you have any closing remarks in 2 minutes or less? Tell us why we should vote for you.
Well, I'm not sure even anybody should vote for me. I'm just looking for people. I'm just looking for people to take up the idea. Listen, if I was to run in '81, I'd be 81 years old in 2016. Now I'm in great shape now, but who knows how long I live. So I'm not necessarily thinking that I'm going to be running for president. What I am doing is trying to get an idea out there that has not happened in terms of benefiting the United States. I would assume that for all the people who are currently in the running, people from Texas and Mrs. Clinton and everything else, no one would be able to tell anybody else what their platform is. I mean, they're running on their looks or on their publicity. I've got a platform that actually does something for the United States, and I think it's about time, and I think it's a good platform. And if people would like to vote for me, they can start signing petitions, and if they don't, they can at least discuss what I'm talking about. Into that one.
Thank you. That wraps up the interview. Thanks again to Mr. Stephen Jacobson for participating in this interview. Thanks again to my listeners for listening to 2016 presidential candidate interviews. Be sure to check back in the future for more candidate interviews. Have a good day, and remember to keep informed, passionate, and most of all, involved.